So, Sangoba, thank you so much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate the invitation and for you having me here.
Well, it's great to have you on the show. And before we walk into the future, can you tell us what was your dream career? In fact, first of all, where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little township in the east of Johannesburg called Vosloorus, that falls under the Boksburg municipality.
And what was your dream career when you grew up?
Funny question, actually. I wanted to become a psychologist. So I wanted the white couch, the leather couch for people to lie on, the nice, pretty notebooks. I wanted to become a psychologist and kind of give out some free counseling to some family members as well.
Well, I believe today you're counseling entrepreneurs and you're counseling the future.
I've pivoted, Nick.
Right. Now tell us who inspired you or what inspired you in your early days?
I think early days and even now, a big part of my inspiration is actually my mom. A single mom who's raised two kids through selling lipstick is a big inspiration for me, from just a power of perseverance and the power of making sure that excellence is the standard. And then right now, I'm probably always inspired by a host of entrepreneurs who are trying to achieve the impossible and dare to believe that they can. They always leave me inspired for what's possible.
Now, you are in charge of the next 170 years, right? At Old Mutual. So tell us, what do you see? What do you see for the next number of years?
I think Old Mutual, like any corporate, needs to grapple with the reality that disruption is a given. And either you disrupt yourself or you wait to be disrupted. So I think Old Mutual's made an incredible call 2 years ago when they turned 176 to say, if we're going to see another 176 years old, we need to be innovative and we need to participate in some markets, ecosystems, and industries that are not our traditional business. And that's why Next 176 exists. It effectively is self-disruption and future-proofing a big beast that's been around for almost 2 centuries by looking for ways to participate outside of our traditional industry.
So can you tell us, what is it you see when you look into the crystal ball? What is the future of business like? What does it look like?
I think it's exciting, first and foremost. It's never boring. I see very blurred lines between startups and corporates. I see a world where impact, sustainability, and commercial returns are actually all needed and non-negotiables on this continent. And I see a different breed of individuals that become successful, people who are left and right brain, who can navigate multiple complexities and where system thinking is the norm, and execution trumps all things.
Now, you have a very inspiring leadership journey. Looking back over your career, would you say there was a major turning point or maybe a couple of turning points?
I think so. I think my first turning point was when I started work as an actuarial analyst after having studied actuarial science. And I just worked on another model and I decided I couldn't do this anymore because there was more I wanted to do. And I made the decision then to become more of a generalist and a leader. I think that was a big turning point for me. The other turning point for me was when I left corporate, resigned from my corporate job, and decided to join a startup. As employee number 2 in a startup, that was a big turning point around kind of seeing what is possible and kind of the role that I could play in startups and in more new ventures rather than in large corporates as well.
And can you tell us what is driving you today?
What's driving me today, is really the vision and passion I have for this country and this continent and what I believe is possible. I believe that there are many problems to solve for. There are many incredible young people to solve these problems. And I am really inspired and like invigorated by the realities of technology. I mean, I know the rate of change is ridiculous, but I find it super exciting, the rate at which technology keeps reinventing itself, the tools that we have available to us. And it presents a very new opportunity for us to solve some of our African problems and South African problems. And I'm super passionate about seeing those new solutions come to the fore.
Now, looking into the future, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
I think for me, the future of leadership is a special meeting place between soft skills and hard skills. I think that's going to become a non-negotiable. I think that the leaders who will be successful have an ability to not only have technical competence, but also have people competence. And I think the future of leadership is the visionary who dares to believe that new things are possible and perseveres when they fail and when they struggle in making that impossible possible. And I also think the future of leadership is that a lot more of us would have the tools to lead ourselves. And it's not actually just leadership based on title alone. Yeah, I think that would, for me, would be the future of leadership. And it takes us outside of our silos and outside of our comfort zones as the new normal.
And tell us, looking at building future leaders, empowering future leaders, what does it take? What do we have to do to build more future leaders?
I think to build more future leaders, we need to ensure that we are assisting and developing more self-aware individuals, and people with self-agency who are clear on their skill set, clear on their capabilities, clear on their potential, and we then are able to empower them to kind of chase those realities and that potential. And I think that's how we develop leaders, by giving them opportunities to learn. I do believe you can be born with some leadership qualities, but even those who are born with those leadership qualities need to find a playground for which to develop and hone those leadership skills, and opportunities for them to rise up to the levels of leadership that they have the potential to operate at.
Now, these are challenging times as the world is stumbling from one crisis into the next. What is your advice for future leaders in terms of challenges? What are some of the big challenges they should expect to encounter and hopefully overcome in their career?
Got you. I think one of firstly, that change is constant, and therefore challenges will be constant. And to have incredible grit and perseverance and never say quit and to keep going, I think that's important from a skill set and advice I would give. And also, I think some of the key challenges are around inclusivity and diversity. There are a number of people that are effectively excluded broadly in this country and on this continent and in the world, really. And as leaders, one of the challenges you will always have is to pause and think that you, as the leader, are the elite minority. You are very privileged, and therefore the power you hold as a leader, you actually need to use it to make sure that someone who's not at the table and not in the position will be able to be included in this world because of the things that you have led and because of the successes that you have actually made possible as a leader. If we're unable to manage that challenge and bring that about, then it's kind of frivolous that we call ourselves leaders. And that's a challenging ask. It requires us to dig in deep, make the right decisions, hold the right values, and sometimes go against the grain and be less than popular. And that is a challenge that will always exist if you choose to lead, because not everyone wants to lead and not everyone can lead.
Now, if you were to design a curriculum for future leaders, what are maybe one or two new skills you would want to factor in?
Don't know if it's new skills. I mean, I would say entrepreneurship as a skill, whether you will apply it in a corporate or your own business or your own life. I think that certain entrepreneurial competencies allow us to own our own lives and our contribution to the world. And that is one that I would include. The other, I would say, is I would actually make leaders go through quite a deep technical program from a technology perspective. So becoming the artificial intelligence coder, not because I think that those specific technical skills is what will be needed by all leaders, but I think it is an appreciation of the competence required and an appreciation of what's possible through technology that they then can lift to a strategic level in future to actually craft a strategy for what it is that they want to achieve.
Now, as a mentor to many, many future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
I'm very lucky that there are a few of those stories. One that is close to my heart and top of mind right now is a young lady I met when I was in varsity and did not realize I was mentoring. I was just going about my university career and happened to be speaking at an event that she was in attendance for. And she made sure to keep in tune with where I was. Fast forward more than 10 years later, she is actually a colleague where I work now and effectively has become a mentee, but also a friend who has done incredible things with her career through constant engagement and kind of constantly pushing her to be more disruptive, more ambitious in what she's after. I think another, and probably there's many of these stories around entrepreneurs that I've had the pleasure of working with, whether before they start the business, while they're running the business, and being able to help them take their idea, their vision to the next level. And some of them run incredibly successful startups in the country right now that are actually creating real impact and real inclusion for people in the country as well, in many spaces, predominantly technology enabled spaces for sure.
And looking back over your career, are there any role models of leadership that you encountered and maybe worked with that you would recommend future leaders should learn from?
I think many. I've been very lucky in that regard. I think one of the standout leaders in my books to this day is a leader that I had the privilege of working for 5 years, which is Sizwe Ngasana, who used to be the CEO of First Rand and Telkom and many other ambitions. I think he is an incredible and exceptional human being and an incredible leader. And I have learned so much from him. And I think for anyone kind of wanting to be a leader or is a leader, he's an incredible person to look up to. And then I think there are also incredible female leaders who have managed to break glass ceilings, rise up to the top and make an incredible impact. I see some of those in the Old Mutual world through our group strategy and people lead, Zeliwe Ross, and also see it through some incredible players in the retail space, like a lady I was listening to just last week, whose name is Stacey Lee Scholz, who works in the Ackermans Group. So I think there's many examples, and those are just three that I think have been really inspiring to me in my engagements with them or through working with them directly.
Now, how can our listeners connect with you, and where should they follow you?
So in good news, I'm definitely a millennial and pretty much on all social media channels except TikTok. So on Facebook, I am Sonqoba Vuba. On Twitter, I am Sonqoba_Vuba. And on Instagram, I am just Sonqoba. And on LinkedIn, I am Sonqoba Vuba, and people are more than welcome to connect with me and stay in touch as well.
Now, last but not least, what is your message to the millions of learners out there who are looking to finish school, start a career, enter the world of work? What are maybe one or two success principles they should keep in mind?
I think one or two success principles. The first for me would be finish. There are a lot of people who start and not a lot of people who finish. Make sure that you are known and have a reputation for delivering, for execution, and for being reliable, where your reputation is worth its weight in gold. And if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. The second bit of advice I would give young learners out there is that there are many young learners out there, and there are many of us in the world. Be focused on figuring out what your purpose and your value to the world is, and therefore your unique selling proposition or differentiator, and make sure that you practice, and make sure that you hone the gift of becoming the go-to person for that particular area of influence or execution based on what it is that you want to be known for.
Well, thank you so much for making time to share your insights and your wisdom into the future of leadership and helping us to build a
Absolutely.
better future.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.